Dear child, listen attentively. If you trust in God, say Amen. You didn't stumble upon this message by chance. This isn't a random occurrence, an unexpected happenstance, or a catchy phrase designed to catch your interest. This is something softer, something sacred, a gentle nudge on your heart right before midnight, where heaven draws near just close enough to whisper what your soul was always meant to hear. Not out of force, not out of pressure, but because God has been waiting for this exact moment. A quiet pause amidst the noise, a break in your rhythm, a breath in your day, and in this moment he says, please just stay with me. 2 minutes, that's all. You've given the world your attention. Now let me hold your heart. You may not feel it yet, but something is changing, not outwardly, inwardly. There's a burden you've been bearing silently, a pain you haven't acknowledged. You've laughed through moments that felt empty. You've been strong for others when you needed support. And still, here you are, still loving, still hoping, still listening. That counts. That hasn't gone unnoticed. Heaven isn't focusing on what you display. It's tuned into what you carry in silence. And tonight it responds. God speaks not forcefully, but intimately. You've been giving so much of yourself, and I've watched you feel drained, questioning if anyone truly sees you. I always have. Tonight, I don't wish to reiterate regulations or customs. Instead, I want to remind you of love, my affection for you. Consistent, unwavering, evident. This message isn't a command. It's an invitation to breathe out. To be authentic, to remember that peace isn't something you need to acquire. You can experience it. You don't have to pursue love. You can embrace it. And you don't have to feign that everything is fine when deep down your spirit yearns for respite. God isn't pressuring you. He's merely asking, may I speak before the day concludes? Not because something catastrophic will occur, but because something wonderful can unfold if you allow it. Archangel Michael hovers nearby, not with authority, but with empathy. There are things shifting in your favor as we speak, he claims. Not due to demands on your part, but because your heart has stayed open. You're closer than you believe. Not only to solutions, but to harmony. Don't dismiss what's approaching just because you've waited long. Stay a while longer. You are not overlooked. You are not swallowed up in the commotion of others' fortune. Your name has not been erased from heaven's blueprint. This instant before us is significant. Midnight isn't a deadline, it's a doorway, a gentle tapping on the inside of your soul, saying, you are still valuable. You are still noticed. And something sacred is still being penned. So pause, dear one, let these words be more than just a message. Let them be a reminder that you're not navigating life alone. You are cradled, you are shielded. Even now, when you think nothing's changing, heaven is still moving in your favor. God closes this first part with a whisper so gentle it feels like breath. I'm not pleading for you to fear me. I'm pleading for you to sense me, because if you can feel me, you'll recall that you were never without me. Sometimes the answers you've been seeking don't come in grand spectacles or sudden transformations. They come in whispers. In moments like this one where everything feels tranquil but your soul is suddenly tuned in. You've questioned heaven so many times. Am I seen? Will things ever get less taxing? Is anyone truly accompanying me through this journey? And tonight God leans near with a soft response. Yes, constantly, and right now even more. Type 222 to claim it. This isn't a night of conclusions, it's a night of recollection. Recalling that though the world may have overlooked your endeavors, your petitions, heaven has never forgotten, have never gone unnoticed. Every tear you held back in public has already reached heaven's brim every time you showed kindness when feeling overlooked. Every time you upheld peace amidst chaos, heaven acknowledged. Not to criticize, but to prepare. Not to delay, but to sink. Archangel Michael moves with finesse by your side now. Not to stir fear, but to calm your soul. There's something shaping up in your favor. He says, not boisterous, not public, but potent. The kind of transformation that subtly shifts the ground beneath you so you don't trip. You stand taller, but do not depart too swiftly. Do not shut your heart when healing is nearly yours. God's voice softens again, yet draws closer. You've carried hope silently, he says. Now let me carry you. You weren't designed to wade through each storm solo. I've been here not just watching, but walking, not just listening, but supporting. This pre-midnight message is not an alarm. It's a hug, a divine moment that whispers, you are seen, you are sacred, and even if you feel neglected by others, you have never been overlooked by me. Uncertain about tomorrow. I understand, but together we stand. Which path to take, which door to knock on, or which part of your life will ever feel joyful again. But here's what you can be certain of. You aren't too late, you aren't too far. You aren't too shattered. There is no expiration date on divine love, no limit on peace, no halt on presence. God is here now. Not because he needs something from you, but because you need to be reminded that this life is still a miracle. And so are you. Let go of the schedule, let go of the pressure. You're not behind schedule, you're being guided. And while you may not have noticed the signs, you are standing on the edge of something sacred. Not a moment that will fix everything, but one that will remind you of everything you already possess. Hope, purpose, resilience, tenderness, and strength. Michael's final words whisper gently, don't rush past this moment. Let it linger. Let it touch the part of you that stopped believing good things still come to people like you because they do, and they are. And God concludes, not in thunder, but in silence. You gave me 2 minutes, but I've been giving you forever, and I still am. There are seasons in life where everything seems paused, not shattered, not halted, but simply slowed down. Dramatic, yet still. You awaken, navigate through the day, complete tasks, and yet something inside you murmurs. There must be more, not more chaos, not more hardship, just more purpose, more unity. And it's in that quiet longing, subtle, unsaid, but persistent, that God tenderly responds. I am not withholding from you. I am shaping you. This isn't a delay. This is divine development. You are not stagnant. You're being fortified, not with disorder, but with understanding. Not with force, but with closeness. Right now, while the outside may seem unchanged, the inside is maturing. Your faith is expanding. Your insight is improving. Your tranquility is intensifying. And these changes, though concealed to the world, are significant in heaven. Type, God is good if you love God, because they are the very things that will support you when what you've hoped for eventually comes. God isn't silent because he's absent. He's silent because he's near. He's leading you into a deeper kind of trust, the kind that doesn't require constant validation to stay grounded, the kind that doesn't tremble in silence but finds peace in it. That's where you are now. Not in punishment, but in training. You are not waiting to be deserving. You are waiting to be synchronized. Archangel Michael speaks now, not from afar, but from within your sphere. You have not been forgotten. You have been guided. Missed your chance? He says, you haven't fallen behind. What's destined for you won't elude you, not because you're pursuing it, but because it's guided by divine timing. He notices how your heart leans forward whenever something seems near, only to pull back when it doesn't turn out as envisioned. But, Michael tells you, this journey isn't about predicting the moment, it's about preparing for it. God adds, you've been faithful in things nobody applauded. You've been kind without recognition. You've forgiven without being acknowledged, and you've kept your heart tender even when it hurt. These actions aren't ignored. They are your gift, and I've accepted them not to reward you later, but to mold you now. You understand love that endures, peace that persists, and joy that remains steady. These aren't merely granted. They're cultivated. And that's what you've been doing all along, not waiting, not lost, evolving. Let this moment nearing midnight remind you that you are not overlooked. You are being sown into something much larger than you can currently comprehend. But one day you'll look back and understand nothing was in vain, not the delay, not the disillusionment, not even the heartaches. Each one sculpted you into someone who doesn't just receive blessings, but safeguards them. The spirit from beyond softly speaks again. I observed you ponder if you were ever really noticed. And I want you to understand that you were. You are, and now what's approaching won't just recognize your light, it will reflect it. Michael's voice resurfaces. A gentle blessing hovers over your thoughts. You are being influenced, not by chaos, but by plan. Continue. Even if you don't sense it yet, heaven isn't running late, and neither are you. God concludes this part with deep silence and subtle power. You were given 2 minutes, and I gave you more than you dared to ask for. Stay receptive. I'm not finished. Sometimes it's not the loud events that alter us. It's the quiet ones, the ones where everything inside us feels weary, stretched, and yet somehow still standing. It's those evenings where you've said nothing out loud, but your spirit has been yearning for some kind of sign, some sort of connection that says, I see you. I know it's tough, but you're not ignored. This is that moment, not sensational, not public, just deeply personal. A reminder not shouted but felt. God moves closer now, not to reprimand, not to criticize, but to console. You've been incredibly strong, he whispers. Stronger than even you acknowledge. And I've witnessed it. Every time. You smiled through doubt. Every time you gave when you had little. Every time you walked with elegance through situations that didn't offer any. I was there, not observing from a distance. I was right there with you. Type 1111 if you love God, Jesus. You didn't miss the signal. You didn't take the wrong route. What you took was the longer path, the one that built roots before it reached peaks. That's why it's taken time. Because you weren't being hurried into a blessing. You were being prepared to hold one without breaking. What's coming isn't light. It's heavy. Not in burden, but in worth. And it's going to rest on shoulders that have been molded through resilience, not shortcuts. Archangel Michael speaks now with the voice of certainty. You didn't waste those seasons of silence, he says. They built something in you the world can't see, but heaven acknowledges. You don't realize it yet, but your energy has changed. It's become a sanctuary. You've become someone who doesn't just hope for peace. You carry it. That's why this message had to come now, because you were starting to believe maybe this was just how things would always be. Quiet, uncertain, unanswered. But God says, no, dear one, you are not being neglected. You are being called not into busyness, but into deeper presence with me. In that presence, everything changes. Not because life suddenly becomes simpler, but because your heart becomes clearer. The anxiety loses its noise. The confusion starts to settle. The pain doesn't vanish, but it softens under the weight of divine nearness. You are not on the brink of despair. You are on the brink of awakening. You're starting to see that your worth isn't determined by what you do, but by who you are to God, and who you are is valuable. Not because of what you offer, but because you exist. The soul from beyond speaks with respect. I saw you trying to keep everything together. And now I get to observe you finally being supported, not by people, but by presence. You don't have to hold your breath anymore. You're safe to release. Michael concludes with finality. This is not a restart. It's a revelation, not about what surrounds you, but about what's inside you. And what's inside you has always been sufficient. And God ends this part not with haste, but with peace. You gave me 2 minutes. But what I gave you was truth. And truth doesn't hurry, it stays. I was with you the whole time, and I still am. You've spent much of your life holding on, holding your breath, trying to hold it together. Now you can let go. Holding back tears, holding on to strength when you felt anything but powerful. Yet through all of that, you never abandoned love. You never abandoned light. Even when the world gave you 1,000 reasons to shut down, you kept one part of yourself tender. That tenderness wasn't weakness. It was a sign, a quiet hint of who you were always destined to become. Now heaven declares its time, not to strive harder, not to prove anything, but to accept. The kind of peace you've longed for is no longer something you have to hunt. It's something you're being called to identify because it's not far away. It's within reach, and it's been waiting for you to say, I'm ready to feel secure here. God doesn't need you to do more. He needs you to rest, not out of laziness, but out of faith. Because when you rest in the presence of divine love, you start to understand something potent. You're no longer fighting alone. The hardest parts of your story weren't just about endurance. They were about growth. They made space in your soul for what you're about to bear. Type 777 if you believe in God, Jesus. Archangel Michael enters softly, not with fire, but with tranquility. You're not waiting for something outside to transform. He says, you're learning how to let peace prevail. Start within. That's why this moment is significant. That's why this message had to reach you before the day ended. So you'd understand you are permitted to relax now. You are permitted to stop struggling and begin accepting. You haven't missed out on anything. You haven't fallen behind. Your life isn't delayed. It's evolving gradually, quietly, but surely. You're not behind schedule. You're being reconstructed. Every time you opted for kindness over anger, calmness over turmoil, hope over fear, you built a foundation that is now strong enough to hold joy. And now that joy isn't knocking, it's entering. God speaks into the sacred space within you. I know it's been tough to believe. I know the silence made you wonder if I was still nearby. But dear one, I've never left. I've only been working deeply beneath the noise under the surface where genuine change originates. You're about to feel that change, not as a shock, but as a settling. This isn't about everything suddenly becoming perfect. It's about something finally becoming possible. And what's becoming possible is a version of you that no longer sees life as something to endure. but as something to accept with open arms, with deep breaths, with a heart that knows I'm not forgotten. I'm loved, the soul from beyond arrives, slowly once more with such gentleness you hardly notice. I observed as you shielded others while secretly wishing someone would shield you. It's said that this moment has arrived and it won't be over the top. It'll be divine and it will endure. Michael adds, this feeling you're starting to sense, it's not fleeting, it's not temporary, it's yours. And it's returning to you. God concludes this chapter with a final soft whisper, almost like a lullaby. You lent me your breath. I'm returning your tranquility. Stay. You used to seek signs, plead for responses, anticipate change. Now, without even realizing it, you're the change. Not because everything around you is new, but because everything inside you has altered. Where there was once fear, there is calmness. Where there was uncertainty, there is certainty. Where there was emptiness, something holy is sprouting. You no longer seek clarity, you're living in it. You stopped yearning for belonging. You started embodying it because the truth is what you were seeking wasn't far away. It wasn't outside of you. It was waiting for the perfect time to rise within you. And now, with each silent choice to trust, to breathe, to hope again, you are becoming the very thing you once doubted. Only heaven could send. God is not remote. He is active within you, reorganizing the way you perceive yourself. Not as someone who's barely surviving, but as someone who's evolving more completely by the hour. He isn't merely responding to your prayers. He's been answering them through your development. Each boundary you've set, each time you said no to disorder, each step you took toward emotional sincerity, that was the prayer. That was the breakthrough. Archangel Michael now walks beside you like a shadow of strength. You thought peace would be a sensation, he says, but it's becoming your essence. You are not just feeling improved. You are becoming different, aligned, awake, alive. He doesn't direct you towards something to pursue. He gently helps you see what you already possess. Your worth, your voice, your light. And God smiles, not because you've achieved perfection, but because you've achieved awareness. Look how far you've come. He says, not with pride, but with love. You didn't run, you didn't shut down, you didn't anesthetize. You allowed the transformation to touch your spirit. And now you're starting to see what I've seen all along. You are not just worthy of love. You are capable of harboring it, offering it, embodying it. The change in your life may not appear with a grand spectacle, but it will be evident in the way you carry yourself, the choices you make, and the love you share. Fireworks might arrive amid serene mornings, profound discussions, lack of excessive thinking, and an abundance of silent joy. Such is heaven's dance when your heart aligns with tranquility, not boisterous but enduring. A spiritual presence returns, this time not merely to console but to unveil. I sensed this day would arrive, they hint. The day you cease pursuing what you believed was essential and start discerning what was already within you, that resilience, that gentleness, that sanctity, it wasn't absent. You were simply learning how to perceive it. Now you do, not with arrogance but with enlightenment, because there is a humility only acquired from enduring trials intended to shatter you. And that humility now serves as your anchor. You're no longer searching for validation. Instead, you offer presence. You're no longer striving to be selected. Now you walk as one already chosen. Michael offers his final words in this section, voice brimming with respect. Everything has transformed. The process began with you. You become the solution you once yearned for, and God concludes this with a softest, clearest whisper yet. I'm proud of you. I always have been. But now you're starting to comprehend why. You kept seeking a signal, oblivious that you were becoming one. The fact that you're still standing, still thriving, is the sign you sought. Gentle, still capable of love despite your past experiences. That's not just survival. It's transformation. Tonight, heaven wants you to finally recognize what it sees in you, resilience infused with grace. God whispers now, not to order, but to verify. You don't need more evidence. You need more presence. Mine. You haven't been aimlessly drifting. You've been quietly finding your way, slowly, beautifully. This message isn't here to force you. It's here to prompt a reminder your soul already knows. It knows you aren't lagging behind. It knows. Something sacred has started within you. The change you've been waiting for didn't occur around you. It happened inside you. Archangel Michael stands with confidence, saying, "This is what divine timing feels like. You're not late. You're perfectly on time." And the soul from beyond adds gently, "You've walked through fire without losing your spark. Now you glow not because you're unaffected, but because you persevered. God concludes with a whisper so soft it blends with your breath. This was the sign you've been seeking. Now you don't have to search for it again because you're living in it. If you believe in God, type Amen or 444 or 555 or 11. Subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching this God message. May God Jesus will grant you abundance in every aspect of your life. Type 222 if you agree.